Have you ever noticed that some of the kindest people you know carry an invisible weight? They are the ones who smile when they are exhausted, who say yes when every part of them wants to say no, who give endlessly without complaint. At first glance, they seem radiant, selfless, almost saint-like. But if you look closer, you notice a subtle shadow behind their kindness. A tension, a quiet exhaustion, a sense of being unseen. Excessive kindness is a curious paradox. On the surface, it appears virtuous, admirable, and desirable. People love being around someone so generous, so dependable. But kindness, when taken to extremes, can mask something far more complex. A deep-seated fear of rejection, an overwhelming desire to be valued, or an ingrained habit of putting others above oneself. Behind every act of constant giving is a choice, sometimes conscious, sometimes unconscious, to sacrifice your own needs for the comfort of others. It often begins early in life. Children learn quickly that being agreeable, helpful, and selfless earns approval, love, and praise. When a child puts themselves second to avoid conflict or to please adults, they are reinforced with smiles, affection, or attention. Over time, this behavior becomes embedded, almost automatic. Kindness transforms from an authentic expression of care into a survival strategy, a way to navigate relationships safely. But what happens when this pattern continues into adulthood? The person becomes the reliable one, the friend everyone can count on, the helper who never complains. Their identity intertwines with their kindness so deeply that saying no feels like a betrayal, not of others, but of themselves. Every act of giving, though outwardly selfless, carries a hidden cost: fatigue, frustration, or subtle resentment. Psychologists call this compassion fatigue. It's the state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by consistently prioritizing others over yourself. Healthcare workers, teachers, and caregivers often experience this, but it's not limited to professional roles. Everyday people, especially those who identify as excessively kind, are equally vulnerable. Studies show that chronic selflessness correlates with higher levels of stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems. In other words, the very trait that society celebrates can erode well-being if it lacks balance. Excessive kindness also creates an unintended social consequence. When you are always the helper, always the listener, people begin to expect it. They assume your needs are secondary, that your boundaries are negotiable, that your time and energy are limitless. Over time, this dynamic subtly teaches others that your presence is a resource to be drawn upon, not a person to be respected in their own right. The paradox emerges. The kinder you are, the more invisible you may become. Visibility is not about recognition. It is about your needs being acknowledged. When kindness is excessive, it can mask isolation. The person who gives everything often receives little in return. This imbalance has deeper psychological roots. Many excessively kind individuals have internalized cultural or familial messages, equating self-worth with selflessness. Phrases like "be a good girl," "he's such a nice guy," or "always help others" instill a sense that personal desires, limits, or discomfort are secondary to external expectations. In adulthood, these messages become internalized rules that govern behavior unconsciously. The kind person grows up believing that their value lies in giving, not in existing authentically. And yet the emotional cost is not immediately obvious. Chronic self-sacrifice tends to accumulate quietly. Emotions like frustration, anger, and sadness are suppressed, tucked away to preserve the image of constant generosity. But emotions do not disappear. They linger, ferment, and eventually surface in ways that can surprise the individual. A small outburst, passive-aggressive remark, or sudden burnout may seem disproportionate to the situation, yet they are the echoes of years of unexpressed need. Not excessive kindness can even become a subtle form of self-erasure. The person's identity becomes intertwined with their role as the giver, leaving little room for authentic self-expression. Hobbies, personal ambitions, and self-care may take a backseat, all in the name of service to others. In extreme cases, kindness that is not rooted in genuine desire can transform into a mask, a performative act meant to secure approval, love, or a sense of belonging. And masks over time become suffocating. Interestingly, there is also a neurological dimension to consider. Our brains are wired for empathy. Mirror neurons allow us to feel what others feel, making kindness a natural human response. But excessive exposure to others' needs, without protective boundaries, can flood the brain with stress signals. Emotional depletion and physiological stress are natural consequences, not signs of moral failure. The brain, like the body, has limits. Without balance, even the most well-intentioned kindness can turn destructive. So the dark psychology of excessive kindness is not about malice, weakness, or selfishness. It is about survival patterns, emotional wiring, and social conditioning converging in ways that erode well-being. The kindest people are often carrying hidden burdens: exhaustion, suppressed anger, loneliness, and fear of being seen as inadequate if they stop giving. The shadow of kindness is subtle but real. It teaches an uncomfortable truth. Generosity without boundaries can harm the giver as much as the receiver. This realization is not meant to discourage kindness. On the contrary, it is a call to awareness. Understanding the hidden weight of excessive kindness is the first step toward reclaiming it. By recognizing the internal patterns and external expectations that drive compulsive giving, individuals can begin to disentangle their authentic compassion from the societal and emotional pressures that have shaped them. Awareness allows the kind person to take the first courageous step, valuing themselves as much as they value others. Now that we've seen the hidden weight of excessive kindness, let's talk about the path forward. How do we transform kindness from a mask that suffocates into a force that nourishes both for ourselves and for those around us? How do we remain compassionate without losing our energy, our identity, or our sense of self-worth? The first step is acknowledgement. Recognizing the cost of excessive giving is not a sign of failure, it's a mark of awareness. Look closely at your life. Are there moments when you said yes even though your body, mind, or heart said no? Are there relationships where you constantly bend to accommodate others, sacrificing your own desires and needs? Do you feel a quiet resentment or exhaustion that nobody notices? These questions are uncomfortable but necessary. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. Boundaries are the next step. And yes, for many who have relied on extreme kindness, the word boundary feels foreign, even threatening. Boundaries can feel like rejection or selfishness, but in truth, they are honesty made visible. Setting a boundary is saying, this is what I can give, and this is what I cannot. It is the recognition that your kindness is valuable only if it flows from abundance, not emptiness. When you say no, you are not rejecting someone else. You are honoring yourself. Consider the metaphor of the gardener. Imagine someone who waters every plant in the garden but never tends to their own roots. Over time, the gardener weakens and the garden suffers. By nourishing yourself first, by setting limits and protecting your energy, you ensure that your care for others is sustainable and vibrant. Boundaries are not walls. They are the scaffolding that supports a flourishing life of compassion. Part of reclaiming authentic kindness is learning to pause. When asked for help, instead of immediately responding, take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask, do I have the energy for this? Do I genuinely want to contribute? Will this align with my values? Even a few seconds of reflection can prevent automatic people-pleasing and reduce hidden resentment. A pause is not indecision, it's clarity. It's the act of aligning your actions with your authentic self. Another critical practice is reframing your sense of worth. Excessive kindness often comes from a place of conditional self-worth. The belief that you must constantly give, sacrifice, or please to be loved or valued. This is a lie our culture and upbringing sometimes reinforce. True worth is intrinsic. You existed before anyone needed you. You are deserving of love, respect, and care, even when you say no, even when you rest, even when you choose yourself. Internalizing this truth is revolutionary. It allows your kindness to flow freely, not as a survival tactic, but as a genuine expression of your heart. Sustainable kindness also requires emotional literacy. Emotions like anger, frustration, and sadness are not enemies. They are signals. They indicate when boundaries are crossed, when needs are ignored, or when energy is depleted. Suppressing these emotions transforms them into the monster within. Small irritations become outbursts. Quiet resentment becomes passive aggression. By acknowledging your feelings, listening to them, and responding appropriately, you transform them from destructive forces into guides. They teach you where your limits lie and where authentic care begins. Let's also talk about the social dimension. Excessive kindness often attracts dependency. People may unconsciously rely on your generosity, expecting you to fill voids they should navigate themselves. By modeling healthy boundaries, you teach others that care is mutual, that respect is earned through balance, and that love does not demand self-erasure. Authentic kindness does not create dependency. It inspires growth, independence, and reciprocal compassion. Neuroscience provides a fascinating insight here. Our mirror neuron system allows us to experience others' emotions as if they were our own, which is why empathy feels natural. But the brain does not distinguish between healthy empathy and overwhelming, boundaryless empathy, constantly absorbing others' needs without protection, floods the system with stress signals, leading to emotional exhaustion and physical strain. Balanced kindness, on the other hand, allows empathy to enrich rather than deplete. Practical strategies can help embed this balance. Start with micro-boundaries, small, everyday decisions that honor your energy and values. A gentle, "I can't do that right now," or "I need some time to think." Create space without guilt. Next, cultivate a nourishing environment. Friendships, hobbies, and activities that fill your emotional reservoir. When your internal cup is full, your generosity becomes a gift, not a transaction. Another essential practice is self-reflection. Journaling, meditation, or even quiet contemplation can reveal unconscious patterns of overgiving. Ask yourself, why am I saying yes? Am I seeking approval, avoiding conflict, or genuinely choosing to help? Understanding motivation transforms behavior. Choices become intentional rather than automatic, and kindness regains its authenticity. Finally, embrace imperfection. Authentic kindness is not about being perfect, always available, or endlessly giving. It's about showing up as your full self, sometimes tired, sometimes frustrated, sometimes hesitant, and still acting with compassion. It's about saying yes when it feels right and no when it does not. It's about integrating honesty with generosity. Imagine removing the mask of excessive kindness. You no longer give to be seen or valued. You give because it feels aligned with your authentic self. Your energy is preserved, your emotions honored, and your relationships strengthened. You are no longer invisible. You are seen, respected, and empowered. Your kindness no longer erodes you, it elevates you. The ultimate lesson is simple yet profound. True kindness begins with yourself. It is not about endless sacrifice. It is not about disappearing behind a smile. It is about embracing your needs, expressing your boundaries, and showing up authentically. When you do, your compassion transforms. It no longer depletes. It replenishes. It no longer goes unnoticed. It radiates. It no longer masks exhaustion. It mirrors abundance. So the next time someone calls you kind, pause. Ask yourself, is this kindness flowing from freedom or from fear? From abundance or from depletion? From my authentic self or from a mask? The answer is more revealing than any compliment. Because the true dark side of kindness is not malevolence, it is self-neglect. And the antidote is simple, though not easy: courage, awareness, and the willingness to love without losing yourself. When you reclaim this power, kindness becomes more than a habit or a social expectation. It becomes a radiant force that sustains you as much as it lifts others. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful psychology of all. The psychology of kindness that heals, empowers, and endures.